And with this, the second last GS of the year, well, it really is anyone's guess as to who's going to come out on top. But all the next racers at the top of the hill, well, they're all inside the second. So, you know, these skiers, they have the technique, they have the commitment. It really is anyone's guess as to who's going to win. Quite possible to get in there if you can. And this is nice, solid skiing again. We have Ted Ligety then in the last few gates of this course and across the line, and it's him then that takes the win away from Nyberg. 300ths of a second. Well, it doesn't get much closer than that. But no disappointment for this man here, Ted Ligety, then the winner of this second leg in Korea, seeing off by 300ths of a second. Freddie Nyberg, the veteran for the Swedish team, in second, and Kalle Palander managing to leapfrog Benny Reich by 100th of a second for third position. So well done to him too. Great result for Team USA there, and
got him out of trouble there. Ted Ligety, first in Kranjska Gora, second in Sölden, third in Bergklein-Kirchheim, fourth in Whistler, and that all adds together to mean that he tops these giant slalom standings coming into this race. The second run then for Ligety, it's got to be a second run charge.
Well, he's the man to deliver this. This will be an exciting run. There's no doubt about it. I've said already that the best man to watch in the second leg will be Bodie Miller. But right now, this is the warm-up. Team USA, the American ski team, officially on track with Ted, and he's flying 1100. So that's good for now. But this is where it really matters. Watch the angles this guy's going to make down here. He's got his body well ahead of the action. The knees drop in, crank up the angle on the skis, and Ligety here is really motoring. That's the cleanest execution of these two very difficult gates at the bottom of the pitch that we've seen so far.
Beautiful stuff from Ted Ligety. The advantage is still there. He must stay in touch with the time that Benny Reich puts down. He must put the pressure on Benny Reich still to come. And this is looking fantastic for Ligety. Doesn't want to get involved in any of the calculations, just wants to blow the rest of the field away. Ligety is flying for the line. Oh, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And Ted Ligety's done everything he can to guarantee that crystal globe. 0.68 of a second, the advantage.
Get that thing. Come on, Shredley.
We are back in Sölden, Austria, taking a look back at what happened in run number 1, the first time we've seen Ted Ligety in action on the new skis and in soft conditions across the flat.
And you can see right away, because it's so slow, he's needing to step off that ski. That's old style. I think I did that when I raced. But then the hill at Sölden takes its first dive, and it gets a lot steeper, so you got to go rounder and really set up on the top of the turn.
We saw early on Ligety with an enormous lead, and this is the area where Ted Ligety has separated himself from the field, and now look at how big that advantage is.
Yes, in this first run, a lot of people were skidding, sliding, really struggling with the skis, but look at him. He's high on the line. He's got his skis out and away at the top. He's going deep into the turn, and boy, it's paying off. Coming out with speed, coming out in control, coming out able to prepare.
It was interesting, you talked to Ted Ligety, he said the key to this course is to have no respect for that pitch, not be intimidated. Well, that's easy to do if you can see, but these conditions early on were not very good.
And down here, you just said you can't see. Well, you need to stay in that track, a little track that it is. You need to find it and not get out into the soft stuff.
And there, as you said, slow on the bottom. You don't see skiers come across a finish line, at least not alpine skiers. More of a Nordic move to be skating like that.
Yeah, and look at the power. He fights every turn to get those hips forward to start the turn. A lot of bumps going on there. A rough course, but he handles it.
And there he is, Mr. GS, Ted Ligety. See what he brings to this second run. We catch him later in the run, but already up by 1.19.
Look at this, up by a second over Moog. And look at just the turn shape. He's giving himself room. He's in control. Where are the bumps for Ligety? He doesn't even seem to be going on the same course. So smooth.
It would appear the visibility for Ligety was crystal clear. The skiing absolutely spot on. The advantage enormous.
Set by his coach, Forrest Carey, a little bit turnier with more rhythm. Will he like it?
Oh, Ted Ligety, a dominant performance, a final.
What?
2.75 seconds. We'll have to go to the record books to see how big a gap, how he's near Ted Ligety time. So the final results, well, they don't much mind the margins. He did it with power, he did it with courage, and everyone now will be going back to the videotape, and the man they will be watching is the man that takes the victory early on. So here is the run, the first run of Ted Ligety. And though he did say, you know, second place, not that bad, his result after being beaten by Hirscher on Sunday, I think he's gotten used to being the dominant force in Giant Slalom.
Well, he is the face of Giant Slalom. No one carves more of the turns, a higher percentage of clean carves than Ligety. And on Sunday, you know, just had a couple mistakes. On the first run, tough to get used to his skis. He thought his setup was too aggressive on the easy snow, but he made some adjustments in that second run. Just a mistake in the bottom gave it to Hirscher. Hirscher kind of outskied him, but today, with this turny course set by Sasha, we thought he would just dominate, maybe come by winning by a second.
And you saw coming off the top of the hill, Ted Ligety making some uncharacteristic mistakes. So you saw the split time there, 2,500ths behind. Ted Ligety is usually green light, green light, green light. But he had to fight from behind this time.
Yeah, and he made up a little bit of time, just 900ths, but you can see he's not on the perfect line, but he's just fighting. He's sticking with it. He's not giving up, and that's the other side of Ted Ligety, always punching, always going for the win.
Even though he grew up skiing in Park City and on this high-altitude Rocky Mountain snow, it is not the snow that he prefers. And so he really, in a sense, it was a bit of a struggle up top. He did find some time, but 100th of a second behind Svindal, and that's a man, you can see by the reaction, that Ligety has gotten very accustomed to beating by a substantial margin. Ligety just losing out on Sunday. Marcel Hirscher beating him by 1/1600ths, and you just know he is not going to leave anything on the hill in this second run.
No, a different story. He was leading on Sunday here, 1400ths back, not a lot, but it's still, he's the chaser, so he will go after it. Early into the tuck right there. Finishing the turns early onto the flats.
You see Ligety just charging the line.
Yes!
It has doubled his advantage.
Smart skiing from Ligety up there, setting up for these flats. Comfortable on his skis, comfortable on the setup, aggressive snow, all up to him. How much does he want it?
And Ligety's so good at going to the edge but not going over, and that's where he is living right now.
And look at how much edge angle, beautiful turns down Golden Eagle.
Has lost a fraction.
But as we saw, this is it, and he came out of there perfectly. Oh, this is the best skiing we've seen second run.
The hip on the ground, Ted Ligety can't take it any closer to the edge, and in a little trouble there.
A little trouble there, going a little bit low onto the flats. Just 6 more gates to push it.
Ted Ligety, winner here last year, just got burned 2 days ago. And in run number 2, our live coverage has Ted Ligety in the lead by 78. Up in Beaver Creek with the added giant slalom. It slipped through his fingers on Sunday. He grabbed it back. Congratulations, Ted Ligety.
First place finisher today from the United States of America, Ted Ligety.
Not winning either of the runs in Val d'Isère a week ago, and that was a surprise for the American, and he skied a little differently this time around, didn't he?
Oh my God, from top to bottom, he was just super clean, and that's what sets him apart. The fundamentals, and it starts with tactics, and that's where you ski. He skis a different line. It's higher, it's rounder, and it goes deeper into the turn, and from start to finish here, Steve, he was just unbelievable. Watch this turn, comes in here, a bit of a delay, sets up high where nobody else is, boom, and he's already up.
Last time you saw a split time with an advantage of 1.45?
I don't know.
Never?
Sölden, when Ligety did it before, but this is unbelievable. Of course, he is only running second, so he's, got a fresh course to carve on. But this guy, as I said, different from Hirscher, because this is an artist. This guy just paints a picture down here, and this is one of the toughest
How about
GSs.
that one?
Now, 3.85, now that I've never seen, all right? And he just keeps it going. When he does get in trouble, he just takes his time, is patient, and gets back online. Now, down here, this is the only flat part, but there's tricks in here, and the tricks got him last year, but not this first run. All right, just get ready for the green light on this one. This one I've never seen.
Stunning. 5.02. So do you still go all out? You said that's a safe thing to do.
I mean, how do you leave the gate knowing that you're 2.4 up? Well, the coaches say with Ted, the more intensity he brings means less risk. So this guy's so comfortable, full attack mode. I think the coaches probably identified some of the spots where he can take risks. Other parts you have to be careful. No, he's not holding back.
Building on his lead, but again, only building 800.
Oh, he's down.
In there. So I guess that was safe.
That will cost him some time, but a lot to play with. I bet that's a little bit of a wake-up call for him right there.
If you look on the arms of Ligety,
see
he
again down.
Puts a little armor there so he can slide along when his arm goes on the ground, so he's making those recoveries.
When he carves on his forearm, he actually accelerates, right?
Well, he stands up anyway.
So those 2 mistakes catching up with him.
The record margin of victory on this hill, 1.34 seconds. Ligaty's still a shot at that.
Oh, now he's in control, back online, deep and clean into the turn.
And Ligety even looking for the tuck in between turns.
This is intensity.
Ted Ligety will cross the line with the lead. How big is it? Oh, and he brings it all the way up to 2 seconds. Mr. GS finding a class of his own. Once again, you see it. Ted Ligety well out in front of the field, and there Hirscher behind him by more than 2 seconds. Adelboden, taking a look back at run number 1. This is American Ted Ligety, has never won on this hill, never been on the podium.
And what you see right here, this first steep, it is so steep. The speed hits you in the face, and he does a great job of carrying speed onto the flats. And you can see him. You kind of just know that he's really focused on the terrain, how to read it, how to anticipate it this first run.
Now, Ligety has had good turns, good runs here, but he hasn't been able to do it 2 in a row. So it's the one place where you see a little trepidation.
Yeah, coming in right into the second intermediate, you'll see the first little mistake. He leans into the hill just right here, but boom, back up there, makes a great recovery. Loses a little time, but keeps the momentum going.
At this point in the race, Marcel Hirscher more than 1.3 ahead of anyone else in the field.
And beautiful tactics through here for Ligety. Good line, nice and pretty stable over that roll.
And now comes the eye-opener. You start to hear the crowd, and they love their Giant Slalom skiers.
And look, there was the mistake, and it came from the terrain. He was finishing up his turn. It kicked him, but look what he does. Gets back on line up before this steep and salvages this run.
And that is what we haven't seen Ted Ligety have to do this year. His runs have been largely flawless. Another mistake in Adelboden, but this time around, 1700s back.
So he gets through this and he hits this piece of terrain. Look at this. This is never a position you want to be in any ski experience, but he is just on that inside ski, and that was the cause. Here's the, excuse me, this is what happens after. He gets on that low line, but he is so strong.
Podium. Ted Ligety now 1.34 up. So suddenly the clock is going to shift. But he's not chasing Germans. He's trying to stay ahead of Marcel Hirscher.
Yeah, and he had that big mistake in the first run. Without it, he wins over Hirscher. So he's got to do the same thing, just no ill-timed mistake anywhere. But it's going to be skiing by Braille in this second run. Look how dark it is for him. But boom, he's still up.
All the greats of Giant Slalom have won on this hill. Ligety wants to be ranked among them.
Now into the sunlight, he'll be able to read that terrain just a little bit better. He's really focusing on his tactics. You can see him focused on getting that ski with early pressure, anticipating any of the terrain.
Ligety has had fast first runs, and they've come apart in run number 2, a little bit wild.
Oh, look at how quick he is with that lower body. This is the section coming up right here where he had trouble in the first run. He's clean through there.
But going backwards has lost 5/10 to the German, but a huge pad to work with.
Oh, he gets hit by the chatters a little bit low, and he's hanging on.
Ligety into the tuck. He'll have the green light and builds it back up to over a second. Victory number 15. That matches the great Alberto Tomba. And now, like all the Giant Slalom greats, you can say, I won in Adelboden, Switzerland, the crown jewel of Giant Slalom, and he wins.
We're taking that break over the holiday season, but he's back on track. He's got to take that feeling, as you said, into the next Giant Slalom, which is the World Championship in Schladming in less than about a month away.
Ligety finally figuring out what it sounds like when you win in Adelboden. For Doug Lewis, I'm Steve Perino. Thanks for joining us on Universal Sports.
For Ted, Mr. GS Ligety, who has won 4 times on this hill in the past.
Yeah, he loves it here. I mean, and the only person who's beaten him recently is Marcel Hirscher. The last time on this hill, they had 2 Giant Slalom races last year. Ted won one, Hirscher won the other. But just look at this line. The thing we talk about Ted Ligety is that his strategy and his ability to master the line in GS is just phenomenal. He gets the turn done before everybody else.
I mean, you try to teach line to 13 and 14-year-olds, and yet you have people on World Cup who can't figure out where to ski. But Ted has it by far better than anybody else. Really starts the turn higher than anybody and finishes it before anybody.
Yeah, and he really figured out how to use these new skis that are a bit narrower and they don't have quite the side cut as the skis from the past, and he knew he needed to give them a little bit more room in order to get them on edge and make a clean arc, and he practiced that. Changed his physical training as well to get stronger for these skis. Both of them paid off.
Yeah, it's amazing what he did to learn how to ski on those skis, but number one, definitely worked harder, knew it was going to be more muscle endurance. As you can see him just struggling down here, trying to keep it together. This is one of the longest ones.
But even where he's tired down here at the bottom, you can see him being high on his line still and releasing between turns. And there it is, 0.6 of a second, getting it done.
Mr. GS, if he comes down in front of Hirscher, he will secure the globe.
The World Cup overall title for the season. Here the world champion in giant slalom, showing us how it's done. Will he lose time on top? Only a 10th so far. And now another 10th, but still nearly a half second up. Ted Ligety's so fun to watch. You know, we talk about how when you get on the right line, you make it look smooth. There was that divot that we talk about, getting thrown a little bit wide there, but not bad. It looks like it's a smooth course for Ted Ligety.
Pulling out all the tools in this run. Ted Ligety, does he make it? Yes. 45 hundredths in the lead. A statement. His 5th.
You know, he worked on his strength and endurance this season, knowing that these new skis would require it. He softened up his boots a bit for giant slalom so he could arc the entire turn on these new skis. And we've watched him over and over again in slow motion. And look at that, the inside ski bouncing, but the outside ski arcing. And this is not even a perfect run. It probably didn't feel good to Ted Ligety, but wow, compared to the rest of the field, well done.
So his 5th World Cup win at Kranjska Gora. Mr. GS, and this course is set up perfect for him. You'll see on the second turn, he has to use his patented skivet. He comes in a little too hot right here, puts him sideways, but then he starts to arc the ski. He's a guy that can get on the arc earlier and stay on it longer, arcing a cleaner arc all the way around. You can see how low he gets on his hip. He tries to get more and more edge angle. He says with these skis, you needed it 7% more. I don't know how he came up with that, but it does get the ski to arc the same as the old ski, so he can hold that cleaner arc.
That's the detail he took it to. He did the math, said, you know, the old radius, if I tip it up on edge 7 degrees more, I can make the same arc. If you only watch Ted Ligety ski giant slalom, you might think somehow this discipline wasn't that difficult. He really does make it look like an art and not that much effort.
Exactly, and this course is perfect for him because, as his coach says, the speed is built into it. There's no place where you have to take extra risks. If you ski the course the way Ligety does, he will win, and that's what he does on this first run.
And so Ted Ligety putting on a clinic in the first run of giant slalom, set by the U.S. and led by the U.S. Last man to win 6 giant slaloms in a single season. You got to go all the way back to the Stenmark era. That's more than 30 years ago.
Ligety matched up with the course so perfectly in the first run, set by his coach, Sasha Rear. Now a different course, much the same, but this hill perfect for him.
Look at the lead, 9,700 as he pushes out of the gate.
Look at how he is holding. Those 2 turns right there, unbelievable. Everyone else chattering, he's arcing it.
And Ligety actually losing a little bit of time there, but this is where he was better in the first run, separating himself from the field.
Just getting a little out of balance. That's uncharacteristic of him popping out like that. Usually it's so smooth edge to edge, but he's got a lot of time to play with, Steve. Well, it's going away.
It is going away. Is Ted Ligety going to lose the final giant slalom of the season?
But he will set up for this left footer right here. Whoa! Almost goes down.
Ligety with a little bobble there. Here's your watching on. Ligety gets it. Victory number 6 out of 8 giant slaloms. About as close to perfect as you can get. Victory got the globe, got the world championships. And that's the final jump. Ted Ligety. At this point in the run, a couple of guys had come down, and we hadn't seen his skiing in a while, and we weren't certain, is it at the same level relative to the world? But we found out at this split time coming up.
Exactly. Pinturo was in the lead, and then Ligety obliterates that, and Ligety knows this hill. He knows how to generate speed on the flats. It's not over at the steeps. It's over at the finish. So at 6/10 off the steeps, he turns that into 9/10 by working the flats all the way to the finish.
Mr. GS's coach, Forrest Carey, said, yeah, that first one was fine, not great. So if he turns up with great, watch out.
Already looking pretty great right now, but here's where it's going to get difficult. Not the same smooth track as run 1.
But the thing is, Ligety's line, which is rounder and higher than everyone's, should be smoother if he can hold that line. Oh, little skivet there. Needed to slough some speed. That's a tool that he has mastered.
So mindful wonderful is the skiing, so athletic and precise.
A little bit of a mess up right there heading onto the flats. He's got 7/10 to play with, and he loves hammering through this lower section of Sölden.
Last year, Ted Ligety winning 6 of 8 Giant Slaloms. Opening the 2014 season just the way he opened 2013 with a victory. Mr. GS, you can call him Sir. Woo! The final results look like this.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to see that Bodie's back in it, skiing fast. So that's kind of a surprise. He can be so up and down in training, but it's awesome that he put it together today. And I've always just loved this hill. It's fun having all my friends and family here. I think I have 20-something friends here.
Again, an unusual look as the first skier out is American Ted Ligety. Normally, the slalom skiers would be going later in the order, so could you say advantage slalom skiers or speed?
Advantage slalom skiers, and especially advantage Ted Ligety. He has been focusing on the slalom, has had 11th in a regular slalom this year, but definitely an advantage for him to go first. Now this course, very open, no tricks, a lot of combinations, but they're simple combinations.
So used to skiing on the bulletproof ice, and they've tried to find some conditions that they knew were going to be soft because this was what they were expecting.
So many twists and turns to this hill.
And Ligety will set the pace at a 51.16. And when the snow is so different, it's, as he alluded to between runs, some of the sections in his downhill training gave him hope for this run here, where he pushed hard, but the gliding is always his Achilles heel.
He is such a smart guy, though. He took that inside line, really stepping. He has been training Super G in Hinterreich, so he has some speed training under his belt, but it's in Super G. Again, with his technical ability, if he can get right here where he needs it with the lead, he can dice up the bottom of this course.
Oh, and that's a lot of time Ligety has built, and now he's right in his wheelhouse.
Is this guy a downhiller? Because he sure looks like one right here. Beautiful turns.
Oh, no fear for Ted Ligety. And the gold medalist from 2006 in this event goes into the lead.
And a huge lead at that. I mean, look at him out of the start. It is steep right there, and there are so many rolls that it's critical to carry your speed off of the steep onto the flat. He is just on fire right off the bat here. You can see there's some cross ruts, there's some chunks in there, but he, because he's so balanced, just hammers it. The fog is still there, and it is tough to see for sure. But on the top, guess what? I think I'll put up 4,200s on the competition, and I'm not going to stop there. Here he is at the bottom. And you can see he gets a little bit late, but he doesn't freak out. He's patient. Even though the switch to the new ski comes very, very low, he just rolls it over. It gets up to 1.9. And I'll tell you what's the difference down here is he has so much strength. All those weights, all that time in the weight room in the summer pays off.
And now, Ted Ligety from the U.S., your leader coming in, had a bit of a cushion. Soon he's got
second gate gets crossed up. A mistake up top, but he's so professional. He's got to put that behind him. As I said, only 2 days of Giant Slalom training, according to his coach, in the last 3 weeks. And you can see he's a little bit farther from the gate, starting to turn cleaner, carrying it longer. That's Mr. GS style right here.
Big lead right now, huge lead right now, almost 2 seconds.
Had a lot to play with. He's like, I'm not playing with it, I want more. Last year won a race by 2.75 seconds. This is the last trap right there, where if you lose time on the flats, it can go south quick.
Look at him. Huge. He's even gaining on some time. Ligety to the finish, across, and no problem into first place. Ligety maintains it. He's still going.
Look at him. He's holding this tuck into the finish. He's got more energy, more strength, and more speed to give.
American Ted Ligety, Ted Ligety has really won this year's Giant Slaloms by having big leads after run one.
And he does it again today. And just look at him. It's really tight here, but he skis his line. Top of the turn, gorgeous. And then he doesn't hit gates at all. That's because he just free skis his line down the hill, and it pays off once again.
5 times a winner in Kranjska Gora in the Giant Slalom.
Hill ski has to finish on his inside ski.
Ted Ligety already underway. Here's how it stacks up. He has to finish on the podium to keep the Giant Slalom standings alive.
And he's done it so many times, managing a huge lead. He will pick out the parts where he has to attack, which is the top part of this course, where the snow is still hard and he can ski that round edge. Now, though, as he comes onto the flats, he's got to be careful.
So this is what Ligety has done in the past. Had a big margin in the first run, managed it in the second run, and that's what he's doing right now. 1.32 to work with.
Now the turns get really long. The snow gets really soft. He really has to be patient through here.
This is not exactly Ligaty's wheelhouse, skiing in this kind of soft snow.
And you can see him, he's not hitting the gates. He's giving himself a wide berth, just trying to connect smooth, round arcs. And it's working.
So right now, Marcel Hirscher in third place, Benjamin Reich in the lead, and Ted Ligety with a huge margin.
Now coming on the steeps where he hopefully gets a little bit harder snow. He puts him sideways there and loses a little bit of time, but I think that was on purpose to set himself up for this steep.
Oh, but can't give away too much more. Ligety looking for his 4th GS win of the season, his 6th in Kranjska Gora, and he gets it. Ted Ligety with his narrowest lead of the year, but comes up on top. Oh, man, look at the tightest podium we have run.
And the top of this course is set really tight, 21, 22 meters, just like, say, Val d'Isère. So that's why you saw the skivet and the stivet on Ligety. But when he gets down here on the flats, that's where he can ski that Ligety style. Makes a little bit of a mistake, which ruins his speed on to the finish.
Ted Ligety skiing out of 2 Giant Slaloms this year, which puts him in this position. Again, hasn't won a Giant Slalom without leading the first run in over a year.
And so just a little bit of a stivet each turn, and then he carves out of it. Unlike anybody else we've seen so far, a little bit low on the line there, but good skiing up top.
Difficulty on steep, tight courses like that, but manages it beautifully. Ligety with a big advantage right now.
Nicely done. Doesn't get straight until after these next few turns. You can see him very round on the line, skiing beautiful Mr. GS Ligety technique. Now he can start to slither a little bit, get straighter through here.
Ligety starting to feel at home. Mr. GS going after his 5th Giant Slalom Globe. Advantage still good.
Coming around the island. Ooh, trouble right there as you go up and over that knoll. That's going to kill his speed a bit.
And we've seen how quickly it goes, and Ligety certainly suffered in that final few turns, and just enough. Ted Ligety keeping hopes alive. Riding Bosom. Ted Ligety, give that man a hug. Up his 5th Giant Slalom title, and there was a time this year where I really think that Ted Ligety thought it was going to get away from him.
Yeah, he gave. But what I was amazed with is his singular.
And that is the injured left hand. Again, just stitches to protect him from the gates, that along with his glove that he showed us, but otherwise no splint. And when you begin to watch how Ted Ligety skis and how his hands go on the ground, you can understand how he might be a little intimidated.
Very interested to see in these opening couple gates if he's changed what he said he was going to change. Take the turns a little bit deeper, aim a little bit straighter.
Was not pleased with the way he skied the top of the course, but making time.
Picked up 0.2 of a second right on the bat, right on the first 10 turns there.
Needs to make up 0.25 of a second on the skiers behind him.
That's more like it. You see that angle coming over the rise, just riding on that ski. Now he's picking it up along the flats. He has found some speed that he didn't have the first time, found a little bit more aggression.
When he is on form, he has no rival in this discipline.
Oh, nice job down there in the darkness, a little bit more aggressive than he was in the first run. You know what, he has set so many victories with such big margins that we've come to expect it, but the competition is getting closer to him all the time. So this is a standout second run, Steve. What we're seeing here, this is classic.
Ted Ligety looking for a classic margin. Your gold medalist from the Olympic Games, 2 times the world champion. He's looking for victory number 5, and he's got the lead. Getting in the lead by nearly a second.
Yeah, he just said, yeah, that's more like it. Look at that. That's the turn that I was saying. That's a left hand dragging in the snow as he carved on that outside ski. This is more of what I wanted to see Ted Ligety do in the first run. Even when he's offline just a little bit so quick.
Performing under pressure might even be better than Marcel Hirscher.
He knows exactly what he needs to do. Really attack this top, but he's been warned how rough it is. A little bit of a rhythm change in that middle section. He'll be ready.
Ooh, and the hand down on the ground there.
Again, a little bit wild like that first run, but he's able to keep the skis tracking and he's building. But so did Hirscher.
And this is where Ligety did it in run number 1.
Oh, he looks a lot smoother than what Hirscher was doing. Hirscher was getting bounced. Oh, there's a big mistake, getting really low. He doesn't freak out. He's just staying on that low line, trying to build it back.
Can the speed recover from little mistakes like that? And Ligety now dead heat.
He's got to own this transition. He did it the first run right here. Start to take chances. Go a little straighter, and he's doing it. I like it.
Ted Ligety, a 3-time winner in Sölden, Austria. No one has won it 4 times, and he's taking it back little by little. Coming off that season that was dismal, Ted Ligety starts this one off with a win. And also picks up his 4th victory in Sölden, Austria. Previously, he was tied with the great Hermann Maier at 3, but now owns it all to himself. Ted Ligety, the king of Sölden. 1,700 separates the podium.
Ted Ligety of the United States thrives on technical, tough course.
At the end of run number 1, so time to make up when he goes in the second run. But he looked like a very solid, confident skier in this first run.
Well, there's no question. I mean, he's been dominating on the World Cup circuit this year. The last couple of weeks haven't been that great in Hinterstoder and Adelboden, but, you know, I've always loved watching Ted ski more than anybody else because he puts his body, but, you know, it gets worse and worse as every racer goes down. The second run is really going to be a battle for all these guys.
Another big crowd here to watch these world's best racers compete for world championship medals, and only 4 racers left. Kocelich, second run for Ted Ligety, who desperately would like to win a world championship medal.
He has messed up a good first run and failed to complete the second run. And well, I mean, he has
Stoder, so, but he's a confident young man, and of course, let's remember he will lead with Schurghofer and Svindal. Cyprian has the silver. Schurghofer, the Austrian, gets the bronze, and I'm sure he expected that was going to be taken away by Svindal, but it was not the Norwegian's day. It was Ted Ligaty's. Finally, with the world champion.
The gate is the American Ted Ligety. He is known for his giant slalom, but he's a bit of a sleeper when it comes to Super G.
Okay, Steve, I mean, this is where the action has got to start. I mean, I was so impressed at the beginning of the year when Ted Ligety said to me, you know, I really feel like I should be in the top 5 in every Super G race, and I think I should be in the top 10. I thought that was confident kind of talk, but I mean, on this hill, I mean, he is the guy that can do it. This is like a fast giant slalom. The terrain is here. The course is wide open for the taking right now.
And Ligety 4,100ths back as he gets to the bottom part of the track. This is where the coaches have eyeballed it. Perfect for Ligety. He is charging.
Oh, those were some sweet turns there. But even him, you know, in the front of the boots on the tail of the ski, but staying nice and solid throughout.
Here's where Ligety can do damage. He has been on the podium a couple of times in Super G. He's got it down to 600ths.
Well, he has been sharp this season. He's got a lot to be confident about. Won a lot of races this year, but he's also been breaking through in the top 5 like he predicted. A sweet turn to start off this final pitch. Steve, I mean, this has been a great run.
And Ted Ligety at the very edge now, down into the bullet tuck, a little twist there, and he gets there in time. Ted Ligety, your new leader. 0.6 of a second back after that rather slow first interval.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that started out for him, but definitely the finish was there. And, you know, when you talk about dealing with terrain, Ted was all over it. He came high in the legs, he squashed the bumps, he kept the skis carving. Nobody so far has been able to keep a good carve going, especially coming on this final pitch. But Ted was...
Super G win, a world championship. The Americans, it is 2 medals in 2 days. Julie Mancuso picking up the bronze medal. We will continue our action in Schladming on Friday with the women's super combined. So for now, for Kristen Cooper and Todd Brooker, this is Steve Perino saying so long from Schladming.
Ligety himself was next, the last American man to win gold in the World Championships in this discipline, Bodie Miller, but so much other history on the line for Ligety.
And you can see right out of the start. I mean, this is a guy who has skied 3 perfect runs so far. Perfect Super G, a great downhill part of the combined, and also a perfect in-control part of the slalom. It was obvious that he was fast right off the top. He's got an elegant way of skiing, Dan. He stands up in between the turns, almost makes it look like this is a different course he's skiing, and his times are unbelievable.
He won in Sölden by nearly 3 seconds, also won another race by more than 2 seconds, and Ligety was just putting it together gate after gate again.
Yeah, no, you know what? He was putting it together before he even got on the course. He had a game plan. It's obvious that he inspected this course very well, took some inside track lines to get inside slippery spots. One of them was halfway down the lower part of this pit. Just a smart run of skiing. Look at that. See that? The divot halfway down. That is not only a great thing to do, but it's a very risky move to take in a first run.
Ligety admitted that there was pressure in this GS. I'm supposed to win it. This, of course, following the 2 golds, but like he'd done in the previous runs, just about another flawless one. More than a second best. And off goes the chase for history for Ligety.
You know, for Ted, this is the adrenaline that you live for, the opportunity to come down here and really show people what you've got. He's got a good pad in the second run.
More than a second lead. He's won GS races by more than 2 seconds earlier this season. It's been that kind of a dominant season for Ligety.
Couple late turns, a little bit off his line in the top, but oh boy, he keeps increasing his margin.
How cautious do you be right here? I mean, he knows he's got a good run going, but again, that's been his philosophy. Don't lay back, don't be too careful.
Well, listen, I don't think he'd feel comfortable or confident if he laid back a little bit too much, and there was a rough spot. A little bit of a chink in the armor for Ted, but you know, he just keeps blowing the doors off these section times.
He's got all sorts of cushion. Ligety trying to stay on his skis here, knock Hirscher off the top of the podium.
Once again, taking the time to throw a stivet in there to stay in that high line.
And Ligety is just a few gates away from history, from going 3 for 3 in gold medals for the first time ever for an American skier at these World Championships. Ted Ligety has done it. An impressive, dominant fashion once again. Dips. And the first American man to win back-to-back GS World Championship titles. It's his 3rd World Championship medal. So Austria has its best finish in an individual race, silver for Marcel Hirscher. But Ted Ligety, I know you loved his time in his position, more on that in a second. And then Ted Ligety of the United States, already gold in the Super G, still has his specialty, the GS, later on in these championships, and he's become a better downhiller.
Yeah. Oh, he has just been amazing this season to watch. I think his challenge at speed has always been he wasn't fast on the flats. He didn't know how to let those skis run. Well, the U.S. team enlisted Andy Evers this year, a 17-year veteran coach from the Austrian team, and he's really helped out Ted in the speed part of this event. But then again, these courses have been set almost custom made for Ted. Technical downhill, technical Super G, was the gold medalist here, so Ted is on a mental momentum roll right now.
And if you've been following the World Cup season, you know how he has been absolutely crushing the competition in the GS. Won a race by 2 3/4 seconds. More than 2-second victories. I mean, just stuff that's unheard of.
Well, stuff that hasn't happened for 30 years on the World Cup. I mean, he is just, it's just absolutely phenomenal. But when you see him down in this section here, this is a guy that is so technically smart, so good. I mean, nobody else gets on an edge as early as Ted does. He's building angles here that you would only see in Giant Slalom while going 70 miles an hour, and he just crushed his competition down here in the bottom part of this hill. I mean, this is just unbelievable skiing.
An excellent run for the very consistent and red hot Ted Ligety of the United States.
0.7 of a second, and that is against gold medalists like Axel Lund Svindal. I mean, Ted clearly just skied himself into gold medal position going into the second half of this event. Ted has got a different style than just about anybody else. Skis pretty tight together. Even in this slalom, he drops that hip on the ground, right down to the snow, builds a major edge, which is going to be a perfect situation for him on this hill with these conditions.
Wow, just knocking down the gates.
See how straight he was through there? He just mowed him down.
Ligety continued to be composed, confident.
Yeah, Dan, watch how early he starts his ski on edge. That's how he controls himself, but maintains so much speed. 1 second!
Ligety better than a second ahead of Kostelich. Is Ligety gonna do another gold medal run here? We still got some skiers left, but an incredible run by Ligety. Let's see if he can make up any more time.
That is sweet. I mean, he is just possessed. This was a fantastic, what a beautiful run.
Ligety in an absolute zone.
And there he is doing the donut in the finish.
He can hot dog all he wants. He has had an incredible year, and it just keeps medal of these 2013 World Alpine Championships. GS.
I've seen more times this season, Dan, where Ted just takes it a little bit easy in the first run, and even in the fall here when we raced in December, he was 0.6 of a second behind after that first run, so he had to really risk it all. I'm expecting him to push a little bit harder this time, which he has done right out of the start.
Ligety came back from 4th after the first run when he won Beaver Creek in December, and he's now 2/10 ahead of Hirscher in the early going.
Oh, riding that edge right there. You know, I like what I've seen, though. He stood up before that, was really tall, changed his skis, got it on a good direction. He sets down here in Golden Eagle jump. He set up his line once again. You got to get in a good rhythm, and that starts with that very first gate on the steep pitch.
A season ago, Ligety was winning these races by an amazing margin. He's got a 4/10 lead right now in this first one. Now it's down to 4/100.
Yeah, he got a little bit hung up. Now he's a little bit low there. He's made a few mistakes. It hasn't been perfect, but he continues to fight his way down. And that's something that's really important on this hill. You've got to fight because it fights back from time to time.
Ligety hearing it from the home crowd as he goes to the line. 3rd, 2/10 back in the GS.
You know, 3 years ago, Dan, the skis changed, the specifications changed from 27 meters to 35. Ted Ligety did his homework. He tested skis, he trained, he developed and experimented. He mastered the skis quicker than anybody else. But in the last couple of years, everybody else has been catching up to him, but not on this hill. This is one hill where he's still a dominant man.
Again, Ligety begins 2/10 or so behind Hirscher. About 2/10 now behind Olsen. That's the time compared to the leader right now as Ligety heads down. He's gained a little bit, 4/10 for Ligety.
Ligety confessed he made a couple mistakes. Those are maybe mental errors that happen on the way down. I'm not sure, but this time he has been spot on. This has been sweet. He's concentrating on that outside ski and just carving clean turns.
When he won his 4th straight GS race here in December, he came back from the 4th position, about exactly the same deficit as he is today, 2/10 back of the leader. Here comes Ligety, and now he's hearing it.
Yeah, he is doing what he needed to do. There definitely was another gear. He's on the turbos right now. Ligaty's using that entire ski, and those legs look fresh. Those turns are still sweet, and he's carrying some speed.
Bringing the hometown skier home. Ted Ligety comes into the huge crowd at Red Tail Stadium, and Ligety into the lead by more than a second.
Pero vamos a ver qué es lo que hace Ted Ligety. Decíamos que en estos Juegos Olímpicos echamos la vista atrás, nos vamos a las medallas olímpicas de Salt Lake City en el año 2002. Y en la combinada la victoria fue para Ketil Andre Amott. La segunda posición fue para Bormio y la tercera para Benjamin Reitz. Y en los campeonatos del mundo la combinada fue para Benjamin Reitz, la segunda posición para Axel Ludesbindel y la tercera plaza para Giorgio Roca. Hablamos de la combinada, evidentemente. Combinada que, bueno, ya les hemos comentado, la diferencia con respecto a Copa del Mundo. En Copa del Mundo ya se llama super combinada y consta de un descenso, que es en una manga, evidentemente, y solo una manga de slalom. Aquí en los Juegos Olímpicos se respeta el formato original, una prueba completa de descenso y una prueba completa de slalom, es decir, en sus dos mangas. El tiempo final se suma, el del descenso y el de las dos mangas del slalom, y el que menos tiempo haya hecho es el que gana. Bueno, pues este es Ted Ligety, el hombre de Park City, lleva apenas 2 temporadas en Copa del Mundo y este año, por ejemplo, ha sido tercero en el slalom de Beaver Creek, lo cual no está nada mal. No le sitúa dentro de los favoritos para el descenso, pero ahí está, haciendo sus pinitos para conseguir llegar al final, no salirse del trazado, y llega con 2.74 de retraso, pero llega. Y luego va a dar mucha guerra a Ted Ligety en el slalom, que también tenganlo en cuenta, este estadounidense de Park City, que puede ser una de las grandes sorpresas de esta temporada si mantiene esa progresión en el slalom. Aunque ya después de lo ocurrido el otro día, ya casi que me guardo mis opiniones al respecto, porque menudo varapalo me dio Antoine de Nería.
Come on, Teddy! Shred this thing! Come on, Ted! Go!
medaglia d'oro e campione olimpico per gli Stati Uniti d'America.
Man who would take the first run by storm. Ted Ligety is renowned as a giant slalom expert and was an Olympic champion 8 years ago in the combined. In this most competitive field, nobody would come close to the Americans' time. It was arguably the finest performance of the alpine skiing events so far.
Ted Ligety from the United States of America. The next man to ski, 1.44 seconds his advantage over Steve Massilier on your screens, our current leader for France. Ligety, the double world champion and 4 times the World Cup Giant Slalom champion, is looking to add the one accolade that is missing from his very impressive list of victories over the years. He's lost 0.04 of a second, still with 1.46. Massilier will be looking for a huge mistake from Ligety, hoping that the American goes down, but so far so good for Ligety. He's got this under control, that textbook giant slalom technique, high, clean and early in the turn. is being demonstrated here from Ligety. And most importantly, Britt, staying calm, staying cool.
Yeah, well, they're over a second still is his advantage. Needs to be nice and smart over the steep pitch down leg jump. I think because Ted is so good at being early and clean on the ski, it allows him to have good control and balance over the skis. That's helped him through the bumps down the leg jump pitch.
0.87. Ligety needs to dig deep now. America has never won the gold in a men's Olympic giant slalom since its inception in Oslo in 1952. Ligety starts to drive now. Get those amazing angles with the skis and the legs. Can he just change up a gear in these closing turns? France or America? Meslier or Ligety? Ted Ligety! 0.48 takes America's first ever Olympic giant slalom gold, and their first gold at the 22nd Winter Olympics. Oh, for one moment there we thought he'd let it go the way of France. Marcel Hirscher pushed off the podium. Ted Ligety has finally done it. An Olympic gold to go with his World Championship and World Cup victories. Absorbing all of the pressure as the biggest favourite possibly in the history of the Winter Games. Meslier with a flying second run for France, taking the silver. Panteau, the bronze. At the start of today's competition, France had no medals in the Alpine. Now they have two. But America was here looking for its first gold, and Ligety has delivered.
Well, absolutely fantastic. Here we see Ted in the most difficult part of the course, managing the rough, tough conditions, getting early on the ski, keeping it clean and calm. He really did exactly what he needed to do. Smart, tactical run, clean skiing, top to bottom.
Well, what a fantastic performance from all three of the medalists in a real shootout here for the second leg of the men's giant slalom. But confirmation, the Olympic title in GS for 2014 has gone to Ted Ligety. Meslier and Panteau taking silver and bronze for France, and Marcel Hirscher in fourth position. Andre Bank came so close, but once again missing the medals and settles for fifth position. Ted Ligety has done it, taken the gold, absorbing all of the pressure from both his...
Ligety! So it's Ted Ligety in his favourite event who wins the title in the giant slalom.